Hello. Hi everyone. This is Carla Matzdorf. I am admin to the group Overcoming Anxiety for Stressed Out Moms Who've Had Enough, and I'm also a certified health and life coach who helps moms to overcome anxiety. Welcome. I am going live today. I am just going to bring this up in the group. I'm going live today to talk about why is it important to deal with stress in your life as soon as possible. As you come on, ladies, say hi. Thank you for joining me today. I love doing my lives every Thursday, 3 o'clock. Join me. Unless I say otherwise, I'm here. So again, we're talking about stress today. It's very important that we talk about this. There are so many of you who, actually, we all do. I shouldn't say so many of you, we all do. We all deal with stress. Stress is inevitable, something that we all deal with in life. There is nobody who has never had stress in their life before. But what becomes hard is when that stress gets out of hand and we start feeling anxiety. They often go hand in hand. So I want to start off my live training with a definition because that is how I start off all my live trainings. If I can give a definition, I will, because I want us to be on the same page. So what is stress? Let me really get into this about what stress is, all right? Let me adjust this. Oops, sorry. And I still don't see myself in the group. Hold on one second. Let me refresh this. There I am. Okay. So that I can see people's good subject. Great. Hi. Everyone's saying hi. See, that's why I have to do both, my phone and the computer, because I see it here on my computer. I don't see it on my phone. But hi, everybody, and thank you so much for joining me. Okay, so what is stress? Now, the definition I'm giving you is my own. I am making this out of my experience. This is not, something I got from a dictionary, all right? So stress, all right. So in life, okay, we see things, hear things, taste, touch, and smell. We use our senses, right? So in life, we have 5 senses. And using our senses, we make an interpretation, all right? So something happens, all right, in our reality, in our present time. We make an interpretation, meaning we give it meaning, all right? Because nothing is until we say it is. I basically say this in all my live trainings. So if you see my live trainings before, I'm repeating myself. But that's okay. Repetition's so important, all right? So we give it meaning, all right? And once we give it meaning, because this is very important, that interpretation is really important, because that's when we start saying, oh, I don't like this, or this is great, this is wonderful, or we say, I can't cope with this, I can't handle this, or we say, oh, this is cool, this is so nice, this is so simple, I can do this, I can cope. So we give something meaning, and depending on the meaning we give it, is what we're going to feel in our bodies. Does that make sense, ladies? If you're with me so far, give me a 1, okay? So that I know that you're understanding what I'm saying. And if ever you need clarity, you need to tell me. Otherwise, I'm going to keep moving on, okay? So give me a 1 if what I just said made total sense to you, all right? You give things an interpretation, all right? You say something's good, bad, right, or wrong, right? Okay. So what makes something stressful, all right, is because that interpretation you made, all right, you saw it as, let's say, a demand, a threat, a challenge, all right? Now, until you put more emotion to that, until you add the fear, okay? You know where I'm going with this. Okay, it's a stressful event. Okay, last week I talked a lot about resistance, and you heard me even like describe all of this in last week's live. Okay, if you've seen that, if you haven't, go watch that, because this kind of goes with it, right? So it's all about resistance. All right, so if something's happening in your present time, your reality, okay, and your reality is demanding and hard, challenging, all right, what we want to do is we want to do something about that right away. We want to take some kind of action in that moment so that we can let it pass and we can go on with our lives, right? But sometimes what we do is we don't do that. We let things build up over time. So when stress builds up over time, stress upon stress upon stress, what we're doing is we are actually training our mind, our brain, our body to respond to these stressors in our life in a certain way. So every time we're stressed out, okay, if we don't retrain ourselves to, let's say, be calm, to maybe have some faith, okay, if we're stressed out with everything that we do, it builds up. So every time something happens, we might feel it even more so in the next event. Does that make sense? I hope it did. Can you give me a 2 to tell me you understood that? Or if you need more clarity? I saw 1s before, and I thank you for that. Hopefully you could give me some 2s now so that I understood that you understand that, because it's very important you understand what I'm talking about here. All right? Kind of. Okay. Kind of. Lori, can you, what don't you understand? Okay? Let's put in there what don't you understand about that. See, more clarity. Okay, Shanika wants more clarity, so there we go. All right. So let's say, okay. All right, let's take somebody, your husband comes and says, I want a divorce. Okay, this blindsides you. I guess how to handle this. Okay, we're not there yet. I will get to how to deal with it, but right now I just want to know that you understand how something becomes stressful in your life. Okay? So let's get some clarity because Shanika needs more clarity, and that's great. Not to point you out, Shanika, but you want more clarity? I'm going to give you more clarity. So as I said, let's say your husband comes and says, I want a divorce. All right. This blindsides you. You had no idea. You thought everything was fine. Yeah, maybe you argued a little bit. Maybe maybe things haven't been as close as usual, but you figured, okay, it's just our busy lives, and, but that's like normal, and, so it blindsides you. Okay. So you right away are very hurt. You have all these emotions, and you think to yourself, what am I going to do? I mean, especially, let's say you don't have a job, you're an at-home mom, you were depending on your husband as the financial support while you stayed home with the kids, and you worked on the house and whatnot. Or even if you did work, you think, I thought we were going to be together forever. I saw us growing old together. Now, we have the stress of, telling the kids what's going on. We have to divide all our assets. We have to sell the house. Like, there's so much to think about. Now, this adds a lot of stress to your life, okay? Now, yes, it's a very stressful event. However, okay, how you deal with this is going to determine everything that goes on in the future. So in other words, if you don't deal with this reality, okay, and things, let's say, get ugly, and let's say you start losing sleep, and your appetite gets affected, and this really starts taking over your life. Okay, and that's how anxiety happens. But let's not go to the anxiety just yet. We're just talking about stress right now. Okay, you're starting to get a lot of stress about this. Like, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? How am I going to cope? Okay, not quite anxiety yet, but just it's the beginnings of how am I going to cope with this? How am I going to deal with this? What am I going to do? And you start getting like very concerned. Okay, so now it's building up. Okay, so I'm just trying to do this without putting anxiety in it, but you know what? I'm gonna add anxiety in there for now. So anxiety may start. So stress is just how we view the situation, correct? Yes, because you make an interpretation. All right. So okay, let me give you an example of that. Okay, because let's say my husband came to me, and your husband comes to you. He asked you for divorce. I got asked for a divorce. You say, oh my gosh, I was asked for a divorce. I don't know what I'm going to do. I just don't know how to do this. And I love him and I wish we were together and I wish that this didn't have to happen. And now we have to tell the kids we have to divide our assets. And I go, well, my husband just asked me for divorce and it's the best thing that ever happened to me. Good riddance. Thank God. I couldn't wait for him to ask me for a divorce. I'm so out of here. This marriage was just so stressful. We were always yelling at each other. I can't stand him. Now I could go off and be happy. So we're both being asked for divorce, but it's how we are seeing it. Like we're interpreting it differently. A divorce, when someone says divorce, right away they're like, oh, I'm so sorry. But to you, you're like, oh, I know, somehow I'll get through it. To me, I'm like, thank God, don't say you're sorry. Celebrate with me. This is great. I'm so glad to get rid of him. So it's really on how you are viewing, like how you're seeing that reality in your life, the meaning that you're giving it. Okay, the more meaning you give it with negativity, okay, the more negative emotions, and we're going to get into that, okay? The more negativity, the more fear, the more, it becomes just really stressful. And the thing is, if you're somebody who is always so stressed out, every time something happens in your reality that is not how you want it to be, okay, that builds up in your body. Your body has memory. Every cell has memory, okay? And it is recording how you are reacting. Does that, Shanika, you say you got it? Okay. But I want to make sure Lori got it too. Okay. So Lori, do you understand now, like, your body is recording every time you react. And I'm using the word react because a reaction is an automatic response. It becomes, since you responded to something, okay, good, you understand now. So since we respond to something in a certain way, okay, it becomes a reaction because it becomes so automatic, all right? Because we get our emotions involved. But now that we have more clarity, all right, I'm going to move on. And if you just came on, this may not make sense to you, but please watch this live from the beginning and it will all make sense. Okay. So now we're stressed out, okay? Because we're getting a divorce. We are so stressed out. So when does this become anxiety, okay? So they go hand in hand. They're not quite the same, all right? So anxiety, all right, stress, meaning, okay, I have this situation. It's very stressful because I don't know what to do about it, but I know it's something I got to cope with. I got to deal with, all right? So you do. So you start taking actions to cope and deal, and it passes, all right? So you may still not feel very well about it. It may still give you a headache. It may still make you lose a little sleep at night or give you little stomach turns. You may not want to eat very well, or stress can give you body sensations just like anxiety. So what is the big difference here? Yes, I do a lot make small things big. Okay. But see, when we take small things and we make them big, okay, this is where, okay, we start feeling anxious, because instead of letting that stress pass and deal with it, okay, what we start doing is we start focusing on our problem more and more, and that sign of I'm starting to not sleep, I'm starting to not eat well, it's affecting my relationships. When you start seeing signs of stress, okay, and you don't listen to the signs of stress, and they build up. So now what we start doing is we start focusing on the symptoms. We feel our heart racing. We feel that stomach pain, the butterflies in our stomach, the knots in our stomach, right? We start focusing on the fact that we're not sleeping well. I used to sleep 8-9 hours. Now I'm sleeping 4 hours. And we start having a lot of worry about the fact we're not sleeping well. I'm getting headaches. Why am I getting these headaches? Yeah, I'm under a lot of stress, but these headaches are not going away. Maybe now I have a brain tumor. Maybe something's wrong, because I never got headaches before. Is this making sense, ladies? Okay, so stress, okay, yes, stress is going to affect us. Okay, it's going to cause concern for us. We're going to start not sleeping, not eating, whatever. But anxiety, okay, stress passes. You deal with the stress and it passes. Anxiety is when we look at those symptoms of stress, when we're stressed out, and we start focusing on them. So anxiety, okay, is a symptom of the stress. Whoa, I said something big there. Because you don't just have a peaceful life and then one day, boom, you're anxious. That's why when I talk to people, I ask, and anyone who's ever spoken to me knows, I ask, like, what's going on in your life? What happened before you started feeling those anxious feelings? Because I know something happened. Something very stressful happened. And a lot of times I get back, well, nothing really. And then I hear so-and-so died, or some kind of divorce, or you lost your job, or this and that. And I go, yeah. Even if something happened years ago, months ago, all right, doesn't mean you're over it, okay? What happened was things build up over time because stress passes, okay? And that's the difference. Stress passes. Anxiety, we stay stuck, okay? You stay stuck where you are. It doesn't pass. You're still focused on how you feel. And then over time, new stressors come along. We feel stressed like almost every day of our life. Sometimes it's big stress, sometimes it's small stress. Stress comes physically, mentally, emotionally. And what's stressful for you is not what's stressful for me. But we feel stress kind of daily. Stress could be as little as, what am I making for dinner tonight? I don't know. I'm making the same thing every night. I just don't know what to make for dinner. Or it could be as big as I just lost the love of my life, or, one of my loved ones passed away. And, we deal with stress every day. But how you deal with that stress builds up over time. And if you're not dealing with it well, you're going to start feeling it. All of this making perfect sense? And I just lost you guys. Okay, there you go. Give me a 3 now. Give me a 3. If everything I just said made sense, you're with me, it's helping you to understand more about stress and anxiety. Can I see a 3? Otherwise, okay. Thank you. Thank you for the 3. More 3s? Anybody have a 3? Awesome. Thank you. Okay. Because, ladies, how to overcome all this, all right, is to understand you have a lot of power. All right? I mean, there's not a lot we can control outside of us. This is all about control, ladies. I mean, you know this is about control. We like to have control, but the thing is, you only have so much control. And that's over your thinking and how you are responding in life. Period. All right? There's not much you can control. So the moment something happens in life and you start feeling things in your body, that's a red flag right there. But the most of the time, we feel things in our body. We're like, all right, that's it. I have cancer. I'm having a heart attack. We go straight for the worst case scenario. But what we need to start doing is saying, okay, if my stomach's in knots right now, why would that be? Like, what's going on in my life? Am I under a lot of stress? And we have to be real with ourselves. Stop lying to yourself. Stop telling yourself nothing's happening in your life. Nothing's wrong. You're calm. You're cool, collective. Because if you were, you wouldn't have a problem with anxiety. I'm just being truthful. I am nothing more but being honest with you. Okay? I used to think I was a big cheerleader, right? Like, I was the person everybody came to, Carla, help me, help me. I was always the person that people talk to me, Carla, tell me, how would you cope with this? So I was helping people even before I was helping people. But the thing was, I was not good at it on my own, but I didn't understand how all this worked. I always say, if you understood anxiety, you can overcome anxiety. You understand stress, okay? Why you're stressed. You may not have to get to the point of anxiety. Because you'll understand, okay, I'm under stress right now. How can I nip this in the bud? My body is telling me that something's happening. What needs to happen? What steps do I need to take? Now, is it possible that you have a true sickness? Of course. So maybe you're feeling something in your body and maybe you do have a sickness. But that's why when someone comes to me and says, I have these symptoms, okay, I don't automatically say, well, you have anxiety. No, I don't diagnose you. You need to come to me and say, I've had these symptoms. I've been to the doctor. I know that my heart's reacting like this because of anxiety. Because I've been to the doctor. The doctor has checked out my heart. I know that I am dizzy all the time or I fainted or, I have this because of my anxiety. I have nothing else going on. I've been to the doctor. I went to the doctor, I can't tell you how many times to get it in my head that it was anxiety. I was not having a heart attack because I was so focused on my heart. Oh my gosh. I thought I was just so focused on my heart. So, if you are experiencing tons of symptoms, okay, I'm not saying to ignore nothing. But you need to feel those symptoms. Why am I feeling them? If you don't think you're under stress and you think those symptoms are there out of the blue and for no reason, then go to the doctor and say, I'm having this symptom, I don't know why. But they can't find anything wrong with you. You got to start saying to yourself, what am I putting myself through? What interpretations am I making about my life? This is why when I work with you, I want to know the thoughts you're having. All my clients could tell you, I ask them to examine their thoughts. We assess thoughts. Because you need to understand the way that you're thinking. Because that's going to tell you why you are the way that you are. Okay? You understand the way that you think, you can nip this in the bud. You can change how you are reacting to a more subtle response. You can nip the stress in the bud and deal with life, face that reality in life, and not let it build up. Yeah, it's hard. I get it. It's hard because I hear it. It's hard. I get it. It's hard. But it's necessary. It is absolutely necessary. All right? So, I mean, stress and anxiety, they have the same, they could feel the same. So it could be confusing. But if you want to know what a complete difference is, when your whole life starts changing, like you're no longer not just not sleeping well, like all of a sudden, like you can't sleep. Like it's like every day you're waking up 2-3 hours and you can't go back to sleep. Okay? Or your stomach is in such knots. I don't care how many bottles of Pepto-Bismol you're drinking or Tums you're taking. You find you can't eat. You're not eating as well, or you're overeating. Like you used to eat so well, and now all of a sudden, all you want to do is eat like a bag of potato chips or a gallon of ice cream, and you don't care. It's like you're emotionally eating, or you and your husband, or you and your partner, or you and your friends, or whatever. You had such a great relationship with them, but now you're always irritable. You're always fighting. You're isolating. You every time they call, let's go out, let's hang out, let's party, let's do this. All the invitations. You don't accept any more invitations. You won't go out anywhere. You won't do anything. When your life is taken over by your emotions, by how you feel, you have anxiety. That's no longer just stress. When things, you're beyond stress, you're under distress, okay? And you need some help. And yes, I'm going to get to how to deal with all that in a minute. But what I want to do is, I want to talk to you a little bit about what this does to your brain, okay? Because when you understand the mechanics of how stress, anxiety affects your brain, you can talk to yourself differently. You understand why you are the way that you are. Now, I'm no scientist here, okay? So I'm going to speak in very layman terms, so don't worry, not in, I'm no scientist. I did study this, but I'm still a mom just like you, and I'm going to spell it all out for you. So we know the brain looks like a walnut, right? Think of a walnut. Now, our brain has different sections, different parts, okay? Now, we have this emotional part of our brain called I hope I say it right. It's called the amygdala. Amygdala. It's the emotional part of the brain. So when we're stressed and emotions get high, this takes over. And what we do is we start interpreting things differently. The way we view things in life and store information in our brains is different now. Does that make sense, ladies? Can you give me a 4 if that makes sense? Because think about it. If you're in a good mood, okay, and something happens, you're like, I'm in such a good mood. Nothing can sway me from this good mood, right? But if you're in a bad mood and something happens, you're just pissed off about everything. Nothing seems to go your way, right? Is that making sense, ladies? Shanika, okay, you put a 4. Anybody need clarity on that? So your brain is different. When you're stressed and have anxiety, it changes the way you interpret things and how you store information, okay? It is the emotional part of the brain, right? It sets off the alarm system. In other words, so something happens and stress hormones are sent out to all the parts of the body, the cortisol, the adrenaline, all those lovely hormones. Okay? Now, stress, anxiety, the stress hormones, not always a bad thing. This is why we need to change our relationship with it. They're not always bad. As a matter of fact, I don't support that you try to eliminate all this from your life as if you could. You can't. But, I mean, we tried that. And I think that's some of the reason why some of us stay stuck. Your goal in life should not be to eliminate stress and anxiety from your life. Okay, first of all, stress in small doses, anxiety in small doses is not a bad thing. It's actually good because it's warning you, okay? It's a warning mechanism. It's actually protecting you. Your mind is always trying to protect you, right? So it's trying to keep us safe. It's trying to alert us to danger, to challenges in our life, okay? So, and you know, those stress hormones, you know, that's what I'm saying. When you start feeling things in your body, instead of going, oh, what's that? Why am I feeling this way? It's alerting you. There's a reason why these things are happening, and we need to take action. So if we can learn how to decipher, you know, what our body is trying to tell us, we can work with it instead of against it. A lot of times we think our body's working against us. That's not what's happening. It's very intelligent. It's doing its job. And matter of fact, ladies, it's doing exactly what you are telling it to do. And I'm sorry, I know that probably just pissed some of you off because nobody wants to think that they're responsible for their pain. But we cause a lot of our own pain. We do. The first time I heard that, I was pissed. I didn't want to know that. I don't cause my own pain. What do you mean? I'm responsible for crying every day. I cried every day for years. Like, I didn't know I could cry so much, okay? So, I'm responsible for that. At first, yeah, that pissed me off. But you know what? It's true. I'm responsible. And you know how I know that? Because I'm the one who put myself there. I was also the one who took myself off that. Yeah. Oh, you can believe that, Shanika. Well, I'm glad one person believes me. I hope you all believe me and aren't so mad at me for saying that. But it's true. It's absolutely true. And the moment you start taking responsibility for who you are and who you're being in every given moment, the quicker you will overcome this. It's the honest truth. So let's get back to the brain for a minute. The amygdala, okay, is responsible for releasing those hormones. The hormones get released into your body. The moment you feel those hormones in your body is that signal, I gotta do something. If we don't know that, we don't have that awareness, we don't know to do something about it. So instead, we start focusing on how we feel and boom, we get anxious. Now, the other part of the brain is the hippocampus. The hippocampus is where information is stored. Before I said when you're stressed, when you're anxious, it changes the way you interpret and store information. Well, the hippocampus is where all this information is stored. So now, what happens is, you're going to start feeling let's say, things like brain fog. Who here gets brain fog? Like, and your memory, right? Like, you walk in one room and out of another room, you can't remember anything. It's like, why did I come in here? Right? Who gets brain fog? Say me. Who gets brain fog? Can you say me? Does anybody get brain fog? Just put me. Anybody? Okay, great. Hey, Lisa, Indira, yeah, awesome. So you understand, okay? Because when we're highly stressed, when we're highly anxious, we start those parts in our brain, okay? All right, great. More and more of you. Thank you. Awesome. So you're all on the same page with me. Thank you. So not only does it affect your amygdala, it affects the hippocampus, where you store and, let's say, retrieve the information. You get brain fog and forgetfulness, and you have a hard time, like, recalling details and things in life, right? And the other thing that happens, now we have this front part right here called the prefrontal cortex. Now this is the part of the brain that's logical, okay? This is the part of the brain that helps us think, okay? This is the part that we want to work. But see, the thing is, when we're so super stressed, okay, and especially when anxiety takes over, this gets cut over. It just gets cut off, you know? And now all of a sudden, instead of making logical decisions for our lives, frontal lobe, yes. It's called the prefrontal cortex, the frontal lobe, whatever. Like I said, I'm not trying to get fancy, but anyway, you make decisions, okay? But if this is cut off, we're not making decisions so much with logic. We're using more over here, our amygdala. It's more to, like, on top and in the back, emotions. We're making decisions using emotions. That is super dangerous, ladies. You know that, right? When we start making all our decisions with our emotions, woo-wee, not making the best choices for our lives, are we? So what happens is these parts of the brain talk to one another, right? We're relying on these parts of the brains to help us get through life, you know? So neuroplasticity, okay? There's a science term for you, okay? Now, years ago, all right, I was told, oh, you can't change your subconscious mind. Whatever happens in your mind is there forever. You can't change anything. It's, the way you are is the way you're always going to be. Woo-wee. Yeah, okay. But thank God I studied neuroplasticity, which is the brain's ability to make new patterns. So we are not stuck, okay? So the reason why we come to anxiety is because we're reacting to life the same way over and over and over, getting the same kind of result, okay? We're always under a lot of stress. We're always reacting. So you always hear me say, you got to change that reaction to more of a response using what? The front lobe instead of the emotions, right? So that's where neuroplasticity comes in. Okay, we want these parts of the brains to talk to one another. All right, we want them to form a new pattern. We want to form a new pattern. So when I work with clients, I help them to understand they can get back in control of those thoughts, of those emotions, so that they are forming new patterns in their mind. They're practicing something different than what they were doing before. All right? Okay. So we know, let's talk a little bit about the chemicals for a minute, because I said it before, when we're stressed out, chemicals are released in our body. Okay, I don't want to get very into the hormones because that's a totally different subject that I already did a live on, and I'll revisit. We'll do another live on it because that's important. But you get these stress chemicals in your body. Now, when they start living in your body, you get the racing heart. You get your stomach turning and in knots. You might start feeling dizzy. Your chest might feel tight. You're breathing. All of a sudden, like, you can't breathe very well, like more constricted, and the more fear you have, the tighter the chest is going to feel, and the more you're going to feel like you can't breathe, right? So stress will definitely change the chemical balance. So it's going to affect your sleep. It's going to affect the way you eat. It's going to affect, because like when you're wired, but you don't feel tired, or when you're exhausted, but you can't like lay down and fall asleep because you're just too, you got too much in you, So what we want to do is we want to make changes, okay? And this is the part I know you're all waiting for. You want to understand how what do I do? How am I going to change all this? So the first part of changing all of this, ladies, first of all, is always awareness. And a lot of you probably expected me to say that because you can't change what you don't know. So if you didn't know this, all right, you need to rewatch this live, and all my lives are important, okay? Because they all come down to this, okay? But if you do not understand why you get stressed out or why you get anxious, you can't overcome what you don't know. So this is why it's important that you listen to these lives, because I absolutely explain it to you, all right? So that you could talk yourself through the process. But what's going to nip it in the bud for you, okay? And what I mean by that, okay, is having the awareness, oh gosh, I'm under a lot of stress, okay? And if I don't want to be super anxious about this, I know I got to nip this in the bud. Okay? Talk yourself through this. Hey, ladies, I see a lot of you coming on late. As you're coming on late, hi. I'm towards the end of the live where I'm talking about what you can do to deal with the stress. But leading up to that, I talked about a lot of things. So you may want to catch the live from the beginning when it becomes a replay. So, with that said, the first step, of course, is awareness. Understanding why you're stressed out, why you're anxious, so that you can nip it in the bud. So, I'm stressed right now. How do I know I'm stressed? Well, something big is happening in my life, or like I've been dealing with a lot of stuff, and I'm noticing I feel on edge. It's affected my sleep a little bit, and my stomach doesn't seem right. I feel myself getting a little irritable about things. So I gotta nip this in the bud. And how do I do that? I do that by start taking care of my well-being. Okay? Obviously, what I'm feeling, the things that I'm experiencing, what I'm feeling is telling me I need to slow down. I need to slow down. I need to take better care of myself. Self-care. Did live training about that too, okay? But quickly, all right? And I know you're going to roll your eyes because a lot of you, I'll catch the whole thing for furnace and phone problems. Oh boy. Stressed out. Well, Julie, then you need to watch this, Julie. Stressed out. Okay. I understand self-care has been spoken a lot about, and some of you are rolling your eyes. I don't have time for self-care. I'm a mother with 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 kids. I got this job. If you knew my life, I don't have time for this. I don't have time to do what... Ladies, I'm going to say the same thing I always say. And if I repeat myself, oh well, because everything I say is very important. And until it penetrates, until you understand, until you make a change and you start practicing these things, you're going to stay stuck, okay? And some of you are new to me, and maybe you never heard me say this. And then this is not my quote. I'm quoting somebody else whose name eludes me right now. But if you don't start making time for your wellness, you will be forced to make time for your sickness. Okay? Nip this in the bud. Understand, I'm under stress. What can I do about it? You could choose to ignore it. You could choose to just take a Tylenol and I'll go lay down for 15 minutes. Okay, all right, that could be some self-care. But Carla, I just laid down for 15 minutes. All right, but is that enough? Because what happens when you get up? You might feel a little bit better, but what did you change? So the next time something stressful happens, how are you reacting differently? If you keep the same thoughts, the same beliefs, if you have the same mindset, okay, dealing with the stress and anxiety in your life, and you don't change anything, I don't care how long you lay down, I don't care if you just took a 2-hour nap and you keep popping aspirin to deal with your headache or drinking bottles of Pepto-Bismol, until you make a change about how you're reacting so that you respond differently, you're going to get the same thing over and over. Please give me a 5 if that made perfect sense. And if you need more clarity, please say clarity. Because what I said was so important just now. It's very important. So did this make sense? Or do you need more clarity? Are you responding? Okay, that made sense to you, Shanika. Thank you, Melody. Okay, I'm getting 5, so far nobody needs clarity. You're all understanding. Okay. So your brain can change. Neuroplasticity, your brain can change. You do not have to stay stuck. That's good news, ladies. The bad news, hey, Julie, you're still on. Great. The bad news is you have to make changes. And a lot of you are going to say, well, that's hard. I don't want to change. That's stressful to change. Well then, what's more stressful? Making a change so you could be better, or staying exactly where you are and getting what you always got? You always have to ask yourself that question every time you tell yourself this is too hard. What are the biggest things that you can do to deal with stress? Number 1, prioritize sleep. I know, I get it. I had issues with sleep for years. So when I say prioritize sleep, I know, I understand. But 7 to 8 hours of restorative sleep can do wonders for your life. Now, if you're only getting 5 or 6, that's better than none. It's better than 1 or 2. You know, something is better than nothing. I don't want you to stress out about the sleep, okay? Because when you start worrying about your sleep, we get into sleep anxiety, and that's a whole other live training that I have like 4 or 5 on. I know all about that. So prioritize sleep as much as you can. Do not force it. Never force sleep, because that is right there going to make things worse. But sleep, if you don't get enough sleep, okay, it affects your brain in negative ways, all right? To the point where, like, brain fog and forgetfulness and so many other things. You're so irritable and on edge all the time. Your anxiety gets worse. It will just make things so much worse. So if you're just dealing with stress in life, deal with your stress so that you can sleep better. Okay. Number 2, physical activity. Ladies. Oh, the one thing I want to say about sleep, thank God I have like an outline in front of me. Hormones. I just want to say something. Lack of sleep also messes up your hormones, okay? And if your hormones are messed up, it makes you more susceptible to stress and anxiety. So another reason to get good sleep. Okay, let's go on to physical activity. And what I was going to say is, ladies, if you are not working out yet, I just have to ask, like, what keeps you from working out? Physical activity, okay, reduces inflammation in the body, okay? It helps regulate the central nervous system and your stress response. It helps you build resilience. If you are not working out, please, please, please get up and get moving. I understand some of you have physical conditions. Maybe your doctor said you can't. That is something different. That's something for you to go to your doctor, tell him how you're under stress, how, what kind of movement can I do? That is something for you to work out with your doctor. But if you don't have any physical conditions, like the doctor gave you the okay that you could go on with your life, you need to get up, get moving. Okay, physical activity is so, so, so important to overcome anxiety and to deal with stress in your life. It will help you in ways that other things are not going to help. I just took my dog for a walk to burn off frustration. Julie, yay, I applaud you. That's the way to go. Absolutely. Awesome. What else could you do? Well, the other things that you could do, or the things that I'm going to call, I don't know what to call them, things that are going to change the central nervous system to respond instead of react. So I don't know what to call these, but things like breathing, okay, like box breathing, mindfulness, having more social connection. Connection is very important because you don't want to feel alone and isolated. Absolutely not. And creating boundaries for yourself and for others. Doing things like this, these are all things that will help you to deal with stress in life. Because as I said, you don't want to ever eliminate stress completely. You just want to build that resilience, okay? Resilience is really how you respond to stress. If you don't have a lot of resilience, you're that one person, or I should say that one person, there are many people who don't have good resilience. That the moment something stressful comes along, it doesn't even have to be a big stress. It's a little stress, like, what are we going to have for dinner tonight? That's a little stress, okay? That shouldn't be something that keeps you up at night. But if you're somebody who allows everything to get to her, something as little as, what am I going to make for dinner tomorrow night, can keep you up at night. So we want to practice strategies that to deal with stress before the stress builds up and starts affecting your life, which is anxiety, right? We're looking for the early warning signs of stress. Things like, it's affecting my sleep. It's affecting the way I eat. I'm either eating more, I'm eating all the junk in my house. I'm sitting on the couch, and I used to be able to portion control, and now, like, I'm just aimlessly eating, where next thing I know, I'm on the bottom of the bag of potato chips, or I eat a whole row of cookies, or a whole pint of ice cream. So it's affecting your sleep, your eating, you're more irritable, you're fighting with people that you don't normally do, all of a sudden now, like, you can't focus. And like I said, stress and anxiety, they have the same symptoms, but with stress, you're still functioning okay. Like, you're feeling these things, but you're still kind of functioning okay. But when these things start taking over to your life, to the point where, like, you're not functioning well, ladies, you got anxiety, it's starting to take over, and you don't want to wait for that. You don't want to wait until it gets to that where you're so anxious and you can't function in life anymore. Right? You want to nip it in the bud. You want to start making changes now, so you don't have to face bigger things later. And as I said, what I explained in this live training, yeah, I understand it's hard, but this is not a luxury, ladies. It's a necessity. Necessity. Yeah, Julie, that too. Like, you can lose your appetite. I mean, I know that's what happened to me. I went from a healthy, I think back then I weighed like 120 to 125. The next thing I knew was 109. That's not how you want to lose weight. My stress took me from 125 to 109. The doctor took me aside and said, Carla, your kidneys are about to shut down because of your sudden weight loss. And I was eating, ladies. I was eating. It's just that I had so much, I was having panic attacks all the time. I had so much nervous energy in me, and I was pacing all over my house. I was burning those calories. Oh my God, if I had a step pedometer on me, I was probably doing anywhere from 30 to 50,000 steps a day. I'm not kidding here. Like, I was pacing everywhere because I had so much energy, I didn't know where to go with it. And I mean, I still have a lot of energy, but it's not nervous energy. I'm just a very energetic person. I thank God I'm calm as a cucumber. Woo-wee. And, everything I know is what I'm giving to you because I want you to be able to say this to me one day. Tell me I'm calm as a cucumber. I never thought I'd get that way, but I am that way. Because I listened. And I implemented, and bada bing, bada boom. There you go. So my stress goes the other way. Any other questions? Because I think that's what I got for you today. So ladies, questions? Any clarity questions that you need? I need some of that energy. And Shanika, you will. I didn't have any. I had no energy. Like, oh God, I was fighting for energy. The energy I had was nervous energy. It's not the energy that you wanted. But when I didn't have that energy, I crashed. And I crashed hard. But the thing was, I had problems with sleep. And when I tell you, I was like 30-something years old in the body of like a 90-year-old. I was sickly. I mean, it was killing me. This was killing me. So ladies, watch this live over and over and over and over, okay? Watch my live from last week. Watch all my lives, because I'm telling you, if you watch the lives, implement, you're going to get results. And ladies, if you watch and you are having trouble with implementation, you need to contact me, because I will help you out. I will help you do this so that you get healing and transformation for your life. Enough already letting anxiety take over your life. Life is too short. It's too important, all right? And you're too important to stay stuck where you are. And if there's anybody in your life, including professionals, telling you you're always going to be this way, just learn to deal, just, take your medicine, or you need to be on medicine, or, that is not true, okay? Anxiety is an emotion. It's short-lived. It could be very short-lived if you have the right information and the right support. If you don't have any questions, I reached that hour mark. Woo! Seriously, I can't get off of here without you. Sleep anxiety is horrible. You just turn yourself into a nutcase. Ugh. Watch my live all about sleep, Marty. It will help you. Sleep anxiety it's horrible. It is. But you can overcome it. Because I know I have, and so can you. So watch my live training about that. I have live trainings about health, self-care, about thoughts, everything that I discussed today. I think I have a live on. So go to the guide section of the group, and if you don't see it there, if there is a live you want from me, that you need from me, message me, because if it's not in the guide section, you might find it on my YouTube channel, and if it's not there, there are some lives I have saved that I have not made public yet. Just let me know, and I can send it to you. All right, so if anyone who came in late, please watch this live, because nothing that I'm saying right now is going to make sense to you. I'm about to get off. So watch the live. It will explain so much to you. This live, every live I do is important, but this live, if you can learn what I spoke about in this live, you'll be golden. You'll be golden. Be well, ladies. Take care. Anybody have any questions, need clarity, put it in the comments, and I'll see you next week. Take care. Wait a minute. Could I please get the one sleep anxiety? Actually, I believe that's on YouTube, Melody. Do you follow me on YouTube? I believe I have 2 on YouTube. I'll look. But go on YouTube, and are you connected with me on YouTube? I can send you my YouTube link. Bye, Indira. And I'm pretty sure it's there. I will look. If it's not there, I'll find it, all right? And I'll send it to you. All right, be well, ladies. Take care. Bye.